this is bombshell news that the entire state of Colorado should know. Let's dig into it.
As of tomorrow, meaning today was the deadline issued by the Attorney General's office of the state of Colorado to insist that the campaign of Jim Wiley be compliant with the demands to show cause as to why or why not he failed to file certain things in a timely manner. And what I said was I found that he did not file to be a Republican in a timely manner to qualify to be on the state assembly ballot for that shenanigans on April 11th. So between not reporting his donated any of his donations in a timely manner or when he should have, and not being eligible to be a Republican as of state assembly, he should be disqualified from continuing to represent the GOP going into both June and November. That is what's at stake. The Attorney General's office sent me an email basically saying they agree to the point where it was worth putting one of their deputies on. Those topics, when alleged, if they find there's no basis, they dismiss it, especially when it's not same party. Right now we have a very Democrat Attorney General, and he's got no reason to show me any favoritism. They assigned a deputy to this, which means they got him. And we know that Jim Wiley has been breathing out what I'll say political threats. He wants to go after Jenna Griswold and other people. He's not an attorney. He's not law enforcement. He's a kid who lives at home with his mother. He's 32. He's got a nasty online presence and some cocky supporters who seem to be absentee now that they smell there's blood in the water from this investigation. Now, I wasn't filing as a sore loser. I was filing as a guy who said he shouldn't have been on the ballot in the first place because he did not correctly switch parties. Once he filed as a libertarian. He never formally withdrew to switch parties. The only people who can do that are people who have already won an election. For example, Kevin Parella, I'm not a big fan of his, but he won an election. So he had every legal right to switch parties as long as he left his seat to the incumbent Republicans. And we didn't go after it. We didn't sue for it. So that was on us. That was our negligence. We won't go there right now. My complaint was that he did not follow directions. He didn't follow the law. And then we didn't police it. Britta Warren ignored it because she had biased against me. And the only other guy who was ahead of me was J.J. McKinsey. He terminated 2 weeks ago. He reported his income and then he terminated. Who does that?
Okay.
There you go.
So what you're talking about is you put it on your Facebook page. We just met this morning, right?
Right.
Because of Facebook, here. Right? Yeah, little history here. We've already talked about this, everybody. Just so you're aware, we discussed this morning and we tried to go live and we had a whole bunch of technical glitches.
Sorry.
So that, yeah, okay. So we're trying to get you caught up here. But basically what happened is Cory Parella, he actually was running as a Secretary of State candidate at the Republican Assembly. He got 56 votes. And, James Wiley is also running as a Republican candidate for Secretary of State. He got about 71% purported of the votes from the delegates. And so Cory actually looked into it and filed a complaint. That complaint is now currently under investigation by the Attorney General's office. This is all information available to the public on Tracer, and it is complaint ED 2026-28, and it is involving alleged inaccurate expenditure reportings, amended filings, and questions surrounding overlapping candidate affiliations and disclosure compliance. So basically what Cory is really fired up about, which, is totally understandable because this is probably the biggest election news for the 2026 cycle to date. So this is crazy. But basically what happened is James Wiley announced that he was going to run for candidacy under two parties, the Libertarian Party and the Republican Party. And then he ran with the Republican Party while still having a candidate affidavit open for the Libertarian Party. He did not withdraw his candidacy, which he filed first He filed first in August of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then he filed again for the Republican Party in December 29th, I believe, of 2025, but
Filed
he
one more
failed
time after that too.
on April 2nd after or just days before the primary. So he knew that he had made a filing error. The issue was that for us candidates, you have to be affiliated with your party or unaffiliated unless a minor party has specific rules about it by January 2nd of the year that you plan to run. So he was affiliated with the Republican Party by January 2nd, but he was still running under the Libertarian ticket first and foremost.
Yep.
So this is what Cory's uh, complaint is all about. He doesn't want to be called a complainant. He's basically like a whistleblower more than anything. He's demanding that they're held accountable here. But
I'm
I
asking for
also
the instant replay.
yes, well, yeah,
Can we play that one
like,
back?
whoa,
Throw the
slow
flag here.
down. That was by a hair. Um, so the other thing that I thought that was pretty interesting is that the Secretary of State allowed this. So she actually allowed him to continue going through and didn't give him notice. Oh, hey, James, just a heads up, because we all get emails all the time from the Secretary of State. Hey, James, just a heads up. Are you running for the Libertarian ticket? Because you're still a candidate for that. And if you are, then we have to figure this out. There was no heads up for him, which maybe that's for a legal issue. I have no idea, to make sure that the Secretary of State's not liable for. I have no idea. And so he has to fall on his face on his own. The reason why I, as a candidate for governor, am interested in this story is because James Wiley has openly stated that he wants to discriminate against unaffiliated voters. So, and in my lawsuit, Savi Griswold, he said, I am glad that the judge discriminated against unaffiliated voters, and I hope that the state does it more. And then he harassed me for several weeks about being unaffiliated online. So when I woke up this morning and read your Facebook post, which I'm not friends with you, I had no idea who you were. You definitely didn't pay to boost that. It just kind of showed up in my feed. We called it a Holy Spirit moment earlier today, and I totally agree with that. And so basically, I just reached out to you after I looked at Tracer and was like, holy shenanigans, Batman. This is incredible. For example, James Wiley's Tracer report shows that his expenditure report that was supposed to be filed on May 4th and went through the end of April, he filed it on January 10th. Or January 8th, I'm sorry, January 8th, according to Tracer, and there's no expenditures and no donations on it. So for a 4-month period, he filed a report essentially 4 months early with nothing in it, and it's not amended. Of course, we're alleging everything here. Nobody is being found of guilt yet. Again, Cory said that the deadline is today, May 15th, for the Attorney General who is investigating this, and that is on Tracer. You can see that it's an open investigation referred to the Attorney General. So to me, this is bombshell news that the entire state of Colorado should know, obviously, because the the top candidate for Secretary of State for conservatives he fumbled the ball, right? He has fumbled the ball.
He was not only the epitome of sloppy, he doesn't seem to know the job description. The Secretary of State's job description, it's an intellectual property management position that publishes. We manage the intellectual property of the state. We do carry out the administrative instructions and requests of all the other departments of the state. We are asked our opinions. Hey, we want to do XYZ. What's your suggestion on protocol? And we are the communication hub of all of that. Our very first task in 1870 was to walk around a horseback and hand out copies of the law to anybody who had a tent. That was it.
That's awesome.
Since then, we've had more responsibility. Obviously, the top election judge, we're in charge of the gambling. My big thing was going to be to bring the registered agency aspect of motion picture revenue into the state to replace old money with new money. We need new revenue sources that don't rely on Lauren Boebert's farm and cow. And
Yeah,
I
that is
with
that's
respect
brilliant.
to
That's a brilliant idea.
18th and 19th century economics, and with respect to people who want their marijuana, their guns, and their and I'm in favor of voter ID, but we've got to iron out some wrinkles. You and I talked briefly about what I like to call reclassifying the unaffiliated as perhaps conservatives, because it's the one thread that keeps everybody together. And I'm sick of treating people who get sick of awful Republicans like my teammates have behaved. I'm sick of them being considered the outcasts because they didn't want to stick around and smell the farts of the people who dropped out or died 30 years ago. I wouldn't blame them. I would have left had the Lord Jesus Christ not called me to do this so I can get the White House's attention and say I'm ready to be president soon. Story for another
Yeah,
day.
I hope this gets the White House's attention this weekend and they realize just
We'll
how
see.
messed up Colorado politics
Well,
really
they know
is.
how messed up it is. The problem is they haven't been sure who to trust choice wise. Dave Williams has been a bad seed there, but I also found out he's not as close to the White House as I thought he was. His presidential appointment turned out to be a hoax. I went from not being able to confirm it to being told point blank, he don't work for them. The only one who ever confirmed that was Ernie Looning. Ernie Looning is barely a blogger. So our credibility has really been in question. So the day after I got home, and I just kept looking at those signage that Jimmy Wiley had at Assembly, easily a $10,000 purchase. This is a guy who would solicit Venmo donations for gas money to get from one event to the other. He was wearing the same suit he had on for prom 15 years before. He's 32, not 12. Okay. This is a guy who should be able to make a living like any other grown man. And I remember at the forum for the SoS that the Denver Bar Association hosted of us, he kept saying, I applied for membership here. I looked at him, I said, Jimmy, you got to be a lawyer first. He's not an attorney. Joe was trying to recruit him to switch, but Joe's an orderly guy, but he can't control how this guy did it. He never withdrew, as you just described. I won't rehash that. So here's what we're facing. A make good on this would be he gets removed from the ballot. My name gets added for November. They really can't do much for June. And if technically it's a wash to get to November, it wouldn't matter anyway. But that means I suddenly become the guy. Now, they could pull a special election nonsense. That means I also get to sue a handful of people like you described for letting this happen at all. I think Jenna was distracted. Let's face it, she's running for attorney general, whether you like her or not. I always joke that the Gilmore Girls actress got in. We are a state that chooses the lesser of yuck. With all due respect, Amanda Gonzalez looked at me and I asked her, who do you want to face? She goes, anybody but you, handsome. And I got up and I was transparent in my 90 seconds of speech time that we were allotted at Assembly. It was supposed to be 5. Then it got cut to 3, and I had a 90-second video that ran horribly on their live PA system, beautifully online. So Washington, whoever watched our White House C-SPAN broadcast, they saw a really cool version. And it made more than one person go, oh, we got a player here. Yeah, I'm Roy Hobbs. I know I had a home run. So Jimmy Wiley got up and he would declare, now we know what a Secretary of State position is. He would say, I'm going to go after Jenna Griswold. I'm going to sue her and I'm going to go to her house and rearrange her furniture. And Jimmy, you are not Elliot Ness in The Untouchables. You are not Kevin Costner hunting down Robert De Niro. He's too old to know what the hell I'm talking about. You are not a law enforcement figure. Shut up. And he wouldn't. I'm going to go kill the beast. Beauty and the Beast joke. Phil Weiser, I think, heard that and went, who's the Attorney General? Come on. Who's your daddy? And that's where I think he handed it to his deputy. His deputy found grounds. The minute the deputy finds something, when people ask, why did I get this subpoena in the mail? Because they found something they can legally go, we got you. Whether you like it or not, whether you like the camera that recorded you, whether you liked this or that, with the witness that you find, whatever it was that the law needed to go after, they got it. So Jimmy Wiley's not getting away with anything here. And I'm not trying to attack the guy. I said, hey, that wasn't an interception. That was a touchdown, or vice versa. I'm saying we're going to nullify that touchdown and bring it back.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you think that James Wiley, the front runner Secretary of State candidate for the Republican Party, he is going to be found you think this, he's going to be found ineligible and disqualified from being able to be on the ballot.
Yeah, the first word we want is non-compliant. The minute he's non-compliant, then the question is, what do the other agencies do about it? Because technically, President Trump went through some of the same loopholes to get onto the ballot in Colorado. I remember that fiasco where they tried to keep him off. So
I wrote an article about it.
Right. So if you look at it that way, then the question is he the right man for the job? And everybody I've talked to has said the same thing. Why the hell did so-and-so vote for him? Boy, have you seen his X.com account? It's disgusting. I'm not willing to let that be our next Secretary of State. Now, here's the real uphill climb. This has nothing to do with him. Whoever it is that's on the ballot, whether it be me or like you just said, Batman, whoever it is, as whoever our competing parties are, we have 6 million conservatives who don't like who we have been, not who we are now. I could be the nicest guy in the world, the most worthy person to do the job. And there were 21 write-in votes I didn't get. When I read that, I went, ouch. That means they didn't trust me enough.
Okay.
That T-shirt pisses off every one of my teammates. But I wear it because the Lord Jesus Christ has called me in a given direction. Now, I don't know if I can climb up the 6 million vote hill of, like you said, disenfranchised people who have every right in the world to reject the double standards and misunderstandings of how to run a party correctly. We have starved our districts. We just forfeited over 200 seats, easily 250 if you count 25 and 26 together, 25 and 26 together. I've had arguments, or shall we say conflict, with county chairs who seemed complicit with this crap. And I'm like, why are we forfeiting? Why are we?
That's
what
it looks like to me. It looks like they're running to lose, that they actually want to lose. The other issue is they're very discriminatory and exclusionary, and they yell at people all the time. I've been kicked out of Republican forums and things just for speaking up, and I've actually said nice things about like Republican candidates. It's not about hating people because they're Republican or Democrat or unaffiliated. It's about standing up against people who want to harm Coloradans. And it doesn't really matter who it is. And so we have this.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We have this dysfunction, and I just, the Republican Party and Democrat Party, they're not just disenfranchising unaffiliated voters, they're disenfranchising their own voters.
Yep.
So that's what it sounds like here today.
There's an expression I would throw into play. Now people are using it. This doesn't help us win in November. This costs us votes in November. There's a couple of my teammates. I said, look, you're right about all these things. I need you to find a way to find the person you're ticked off at and tell them one-on-one off Facebook, off social media, because it does not help us win in November. I could sit here and tell you stories about every name in the book, but who put them there? So as far as Jimmy Wiley goes, he doesn't know how to do the job. And these people voted for him. And
hold on. He's not the only one that doesn't know how to do the job. Yeah, we're not talking about Jenna Griswold not knowing how to do her job. We're talking about the Republican Party, state committee not knowing how to do their job. There's a whole list of people here, again, who fumbled the ball for the voters of Colorado. And this is why I filed my lawsuit, right? Is because I was like, whoa, the parties using their own rules in our elections, there's no oversight for this. And so we have more delegates than are registered for the state assembly voting. We have these issues with the filing rules where, the president, Britta Horn, she should have known about this, and she didn't. And it's simple. And it's simple because James Wiley's tracer is public. So all you have to do is go look up James Wiley.
Any new people there, because the minute I heard her spend 35 minutes asking Greg Carlson what to do next. Greg is a reasonably nice guy, but when I saw him sell his soul this last semester, as a teacher, that's how I call it. This led to Victor Marx's campaign. Victor Marx has a team of lawyers called Preeb that are financially backed by the same exact Xcel Energy company that backs John Hickenlooper. Okay, they gave us a Republican facade to apologize for how much we hate the Democrat, or at least the people who are running the Democrat Party right now. I mean, we've had conservative Democrats. Reagan was one in California. All right, so it's possible. Conservative Democrats love me to death. I often joke if I had run as a conservative Democrat, Mandy Lindsay would be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have Democrats reach across the aisle with me as well. There's things that we can collaborate with, and it's just Phil Weiser, for example. He's got a 107-page roadmap for Colorado on his campaign website. And it is literally, I'm going to take all of your money, ha ha ha, and I'm going to give it to all of my crony friends. Ha ha ha. What are you going to do about it? That's what the 107 pages is.
I agree with everything you. I mean, I haven't read it yet, but knowing Phil, he has written out his intentions.
He
For
did.
him to turn around and help me, what is
Yes.
going on?
Yes,
This is a guy who
absolutely.
could have easily
Well,
screwed me.
and I can tell you this
See
firsthand,
what I'm
right?
saying?
Because I've been doing this down in Pagosa Springs for a couple of years. There, I have several open investigations by the state
Okay.
for public officials for, misconduct, conflict of interest, and I also have one against somebody who's professionally licensed. They're all open, and so it takes a specific kind of complaint in order for them to actually pay attention and open it. They'll usually, will find it frivolous and then they'll move on. And
I thought
so
that's
for
what they
you
would
to,
do. I was really expecting that.
yeah. So when I saw your status this
I'm like,
morning, I was
what?
like, hold up. This is alleging like so much here. I have to go look at this myself. And as soon as I looked at it, I was shocked. I mean, again, a campaign finance report 4 months early. Why wouldn't the Secretary of State be like, hey, did you make a mistake on this?
You got
Again,
to ask yourself,
is it a
who gave
legal
this
liability?
who gave this kid late inning money? And I can tell you exactly who it was. Rex Tompkins and his wife failed at 4 different elections, and they're pissed off, and they're self-appointed black victims. Oh, the white people in Colorado Springs. Oh, shut up, Rex. Um, I approached his wife with Oreo cookies, a thank you, and a soft hug when I showed up to CD5 in 2024. I appreciated the effort she put in, but it takes more than a pissed off woman to run things. Um, the lady who was in charge of the committee for CD5 hated Dave Williams, and Caitlin Kim was public PBS News was able to magically document. She said, "Oh, write-in votes. Jeff Crink got some. Those were mine, Caitlin, right here, 6%." Now that aside, after I witnessed all of that, I realized when I saw Rex and his failing 501c3 church, I immediately knew what happened. The churches got together and said, we have to make sure that somebody other than Cory gets those votes, because they knew that James J.J. McKenzie's Charis Bible College cult was not going to get that. He got 500. He terminated, declared his $1,500 or whatever it was, and he terminated. If he knew this was going to happen and he would have been next in line for the throne, why would he leave? He knew he was going to get investigated too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this
If
is
these
this
six
is what
votes,
we're
I'm in.
dealing with. We're dealing with the extreme dysfunction of the Republican Party, and I don't know what's happening with the candidates here this year. James Wiley is not the only one of questionable repute doing all of these things.
Do you
Victor
remember?
Marx has been accused of smurfing,
Do you
and
remember
they
the last day of school in high school when it was like the seniors could get away with anything because the principal really didn't care? Do you remember any of that shenanigans? Okay,
I
Britta's
do,
leaving.
yeah.
Britta's leaving. We barely have a vice chair, so it's like calling 911 and nobody's going to
Nobody's
respond.
answering.
Nobody's
Yeah.
there. It's die
I've
hard
actually had that happen once, so I
three where
totally know the feeling
you
that
get
you're
the villains
talking
on the
about
phone.
here.
So
Yeah,
don't
that's
panic.
incredible.
You might live through it. So
So,
I think they pursued the opportunity. I think Jim Wiley saw, well, nobody's going to call me out. So now that somebody has, and the person who's called him out has the authority to not just revoke his GOP nomination, but they have the authority to charge him with a crime. If Jim Wiley gets charged with a crime and has to plead guilty, he can never run for an executive office ever again in the state of Colorado.
okay. Yeah, so that's what we're waiting for. We're going to see what's next. Today is the deadline to cure this
We'll see what
complaint for
happens.
James Riley, and it's under investigation by the Attorney General. Thanks so much, Cory, for coming on here and
Hopefully
chatting
the
with
audio works.
everybody. And yeah, hopefully it works. And being so passionate about this, and I can tell that you're passionate because you're just like, what is going on here in Colorado? This is insane,
I serve
you
at the
know?
pleasure of my Lord and Savior.
That's right. Absolutely. So that's all that we're here for. And I'm so glad to have met you. And I look forward to finding out what the Attorney General has to say.
Yeah, we'll do this again after we learn what they're going to do about it.
Let's do it again. All right, sounds good. I'm here to represent underrepresented voices and amplify people. So again, if other people are having open complaints that aren't being heard
I want
by
to
the
hear what Kyle
media,
Clark has to say about all this.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Mr. Kyle Clark, where are you? Why
Hey,
aren't you
buddy.
doing any kind of
This feels
story or
like when
coverage
Apollo
on this?
13 went from being not worthy of broadcast to overly worthy of broadcast. What part of my
Yeah,
ship do you need to blow up, sir?
absolutely. Right. And so, news
Cousins were on
media,
the editing team for that, by the way.
let's get a grip on things. Stop covering for the parties and the people who are in charge here, because we are still talking. It's 2026. We have social media, and guess what? There's something called an algorithm, and it introduced me to Cory. So thanks so much, Cory. Have a fantastic
You
weekend,
as
and we'll be
well.
in touch soon.
Wonderful. Be blessed.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.